If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine, and maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them, from disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warm up from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you, as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by William Boor, who does such great work over at Action Network. Taking a look at this great game of baseball that we all know and love. We're going to be discussing with him what we've all seen here in the first about 2 months or so of the season. Some of the things that are catching his attention. We'll dive in on the games for Tuesday as well. And then in the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters ZM. Name does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is via an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via the 5-star review. Did not get in any Twitter/X questions, but everything is powered by Edge Boost. Over at Edge Boost, they're making sure that bettors are able to have access to their funds when they want it for all their gambling related transactions. And when you go to edgeboost.bet, type in that promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G. That gets you a dollar for dollar match on your first deposit of $25. That's edgeboost.bet, promo code Greg. And how about if we do take a look at everything that we saw in baseball on Monday, try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Miami Marlins at home are 69-33 and 1 to the over since the beginning of the 2024 season, and they played an over and they got a win over the Chicago Cubs, this by a count of 8-7, as for the Cubs, they were unable to close in the 9th inning as Ben Brown got lit up for 6 runs over the course of 4 2/3 innings, including a pair of home runs for Miami. Going deep, Jesus Sanchez, second home run season. Agustin Ramirez, sixth. From there, the bullpen was solid until you got to Daniel Palencia, who gave up 2 runs in the 9th inning as Jesus Sanchez, an RBI triple, ended the game. But Caleb Theobar, 1 3rd inning scoreless. Ryan Presley, Drew Pomeranz, they both ended scoreless inning. And for Miguel Amaya, he was able to go deep off of Edward Cabrera, 4th home run of the campaign. Cabrera gives up 3 runs over the course of 5 innings, and then Jesus Sunoco gets Sunoco to round 4 runs while getting it out of the bullpen. But Valentin Belozo, no Bozo in long relief, 3 scoreless innings to be able to get the win. And Ronnie Enriquez, a pair of outs out of the bullpen, scoreless. You did see the Boston Red Sox be able to persevere over the New York Metropolitans, this by a count of 3-1. For the Mets, nothing doing at the plate, and for Kodai Senga, he gives up 3 runs over the course of 6 innings before you had Jose Buto coupled with Jose Castillo, both landing a scoreless inning. For Boston, Hunter Dobbins, not necessarily long for this game, but it gives up just 1 run in 4 2/3 innings. From there, Justin Wilson, Greg Weiser, Aroldis Chapman landed a scoreless inning, and Justin Slayton, 4 outs out of the bullpen, scoreless. You had plenty of scoreless innings in this one, as you've got yourself the Seattle Mariners getting the job done on the road against the Chicago White Sox, 5-1 the final. As for Seattle, Luis Castillo, 7 scoreless innings. Colin Sider, scoreless inning. Tyrone Taylor, he gets pair of outs out of the bullpen, but allows a run before Andres Munoz gets a save. And for Julio Rodriguez, he goes deep off of Cam Bouger, his 8th home run of the campaign. For the White Sox, you had Davis Martin give up just 2 runs at 7 1/3 innings. Bouger from there, he gets 1 out and gives up 3 runs before Yandris Gomez is able to end 1 1/3 innings scoreless. For the Colorado Rockies, they are now 8-39 this season. They are up 3-1 against the Philadelphia Phillies going into the 7th inning, and they booted the game. And for the Colorado Rockies, this is one of the best under teams that you're going to find in all of baseball. 20 overs, 26 unders, and a push 9-3. The Phillies find a way to get the job done. As for Umando Sosa, he was able to go deep off of Scott Alexander, and so was Kyle Schwarber. 16th home run season for Schwarber, number 1 for Sosa, and then Alec Boehm off of Seth Halverson, home run number 3 of the season. They squandered what was a relatively good start out of Kyle Freeland, giving up 1 run in 5 1/3 innings. From there, Jake Bird, 5 outs out of the bullpen, gives up an unearned run. Seth Halverson, though, gives up 4 runs in 2/3 of an inning, and then Scott Alexander, 4 outs out of the bullpen. He allows 3 runs. For the St. Louis Cardinals, they continue to be one of the hotter teams in all of baseball. They take it to the Detroit Tigers, this by a count of 11-4. As for Detroit, You had Seth Gunther as an opener, gave you 1 out. He gave up a run, and Kadir Montero was more like Kadir Montero Bull. 5 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings. Not as bad John Brebbia, though. 5 runs, 4 of which were earned, given up in 1 out of the bullpen. Tomas Nido, the backup catcher, he's able to give you 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. And for St. Louis, Sonny Gray, he was a ray of sunshine. 10 punch-outs, 6 scoreless innings. Jojo Romero from there, a scoreless inning. He did have a trio of runs, only 1 of which was earned, given up by Gordon Gacefa. When you had John King, be the king, he was able to give the team a scoreless inning. Twins and Guardians, this game was in the second inning, got suspended with the Twins up 2-1, and I had the over in that game, so a little bit salty there. And then if you're the Tampa Bay Rays, you should be feeling salty about the way that you blew this game. 4-3. They lose to the Houston Astros. As for the Astros, Victor Caratini and Jake Myers both get home run number 3 of the campaign. For Caratini, goes deep out for Ryan Pepiot. For Pepiot, he gives up 3 runs over the course of 6 innings. For Manuel Rodriguez, gives out the other solo run in his inning of work. Eric Orze, Mason Montgomery, they both under scoreless inning, and Danny Jansen, while he was able to get his 3rd home run in the campaign, that came off of Colton Gordon. Team went just 1 of 10 with men in scoring position. For Gordon, gives up that home run. 3 runs a total in 5 1/3 innings, but Brian King, Brian Abreu both give you 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Josh Hader, he is able to lend a scoreless inning as well. Being able to lend a lot of support is the Reds offense. 7-1, they take it to the Pittsburgh Pirates. If you like me had the under, this was relatively brutal. 5 runs in the final 2 innings by the Reds to be able to get you a push. And for the Reds, you had a very nice performance at the plate, going 4-14 with men in scoring position, but a better one from Nick Lodolo, giving up 1 run over the course of 6 innings. Lyon Richardson, Scott Barlow, Brent Suter, all able to lend a scoreless inning. And for Pittsburgh, you had Mitch Keller give up 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in 6 innings. Caleb Ferguson, no runs allowed in the bullpen. It is 1 inning of work, but David Benar, he poops the Benar. 2 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning, and Colin Olderman does not live up to his name. He gave up 3 runs over the course of 1 1/3 innings. The Kansas City Royals persevere, and they find a way to be able to get the job done by a count of 3-1 against the San Francisco Giants, as it was Vinny Pescantino who was able to have a big home run in this one. That is number 8 of the campaign. That comes off of Taylor Rogers. As for the Giants, Robbie Ray, a really good start. 7 scoreless innings, but Rogers gives up that home run. 2 runs in total over the course of his inning. Jordan Hicks gives up a run in an inning, and for the Royals, their pitching continues to be supreme. Chris with K. Bubich, 7 scoreless innings. Daniel Lynch from there does get an out of the bullpen, but he allows a run. John Schreiber, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and then Carlos Esteves, a scoreless inning. You saw the Angels be able to take it to the Athletics by a count of 4-3, as there was, I believe, 6 runs scored in this game in the first 3 innings, and then 1 after that, as two of the worst bullpens in the league actually had a good performance, as Jose Soriano gives up 3 runs in 6 innings for the Angels, but Ryan Zephyrian, Hector Neris, Kenley Jansen all lend a scoreless inning, and for the Athletics, JT Gannon Juice gives up 4 runs over the course of 4 innings. Taylor Ward, 13th home run the campaign, and then Nolan Schunel, his 3rd home run of the season. From there, you did have Mitch Spence go for 2 2/3 innings scoreless, Michael Otans 2 scoreless innings, and you had an out of the bullpen out of Matt Crook scoreless. And for the LA Dodgers, how about 4 straight losses for them at home? The Arizona Diamondbacks, 9-5 winners for the Stakes. Brandon Pfaadt battled his way through, giving up 3 solo home runs over the course of 6 innings. As going deep for the Dodgers, Mookie Betts twice, 7th and 8th home runs of the season. Shohei Ohtani is 17th. And for Jack Dreyer, not the opening he was looking for. 2 innings, allows 3 runs. And from there, Landon Knack gets knocked around for 4 runs over the course of 5 innings, allowing a pair of bombs. As Lourdes Gurriel gets his 8th home run season. Geraldo Perdomo off of Matt Sauer a little bit later on, his 6th home run of the campaign. And Gabriel Moreno, his 2nd home run season for Sauer, gives up 2 runs over the course of his 2 innings of work. And for the Arizona Diamondbacks, scoreless innings out of Scott McGill and Juan Murillo, and then you had Ryan Thompson give up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning, but Shelby Miller, he's able to clean things up. He gets the job done with the final out of the game. And if you're looking trend-wise at what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, it has been a little bit of an underwhelming season to this point, as you've been having right around about 52.5% of games go under the total, 355 unders and 318 overs, so approximately 52.7%. Meanwhile, the home teams have been able to do a relatively solid job this year at 400 and 306 on the money line, but favorites are hitting at more like 59%, 414 and 287 on the money line. But if you're looking just at the last 7 days in Major League Baseball, it's been a little bit of tougher sledding for these favorites, as for the favorites are hitting at only about 54%, 48 and 41 on the money line. Meanwhile, the under hitting at about 58.5%, 50 unders to 35 overs. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's where we're all getting trend-wise. Coming up next, how about if we do chat with our good friend William Boor, who does such great work over at Action Network, taking a look at this great game that we all know of love of baseball, and that comes up next here on the Baseball Betting Show. Myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beast Family Pelicans.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by William Boor, who does such tremendous work over at Action Network. Taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. I know that over there at Action Network, they do a great job of covering just a little bit of everything. And for William, you're able to find his work in so many different places. He's out there in the New York Post. I know that we've seen him a little bit in the Philadelphia Inquirer as well. And you're able to follow him on Twitter/X at the letter W. His last name, Boor, B-O-O-R, all together. William, it's great to get you aboard. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, Greg. Always happy to hop on, talk some baseball with you, and let's just see what we got.
Absolutely. And William, just in general, we are now through almost 2 months of baseball. We are starting to come up on that Memorial Day holiday when things, in my opinion, get really real out there in baseball. But just what has been cashing for you this far this season?
Yeah, baseball, it's a grind. I think, like you said, like it's real. Like I can trust these results. These teams are actually good. They're not just, off to a hot start. But then on the other side, you're like, wow, I still have, 100 games to go. Like it's still very long. I think it's interesting. The Tigers have been better than I thought. I thought they were going to be good. I didn't think they were necessarily going to be the best team in the American League good. That's been really intriguing. Braves, slow start, but now they're starting to look like the team I thought they would. And the NL West, I thought was going to be competitive, but now it's looking like really competitive, and that those might be 4 of the best teams in the National League, and then the Rockies.
Yeah, and with the Colorado Rockies, I feel like that's just been the gift that keeps on giving. I can't stop talking about how profitable that has been, and just how are you looking to fade the team right now, because even the run lines that we are seeing on the Colorado Rockies are just going to the moon.
You've got to get creative and either do team totals or like a team total and a money line or team total and run line parlay, like a first 5 innings team total. You've got to find different ways to do it. Maybe try and find someone on the other team's, total bases, because you can't do money lines. You can't do run lines because you're starting to get 1.5s at like still at minus 190, which is absurd to talk about. I've done plenty of Rockies opponent versus White Sox or Marlins opponent, like 2-team money line parlays, just to get it to minus 120, plus 101, somewhere in there. You just kind of got to get creative to do it. Because I saw your tweet the other day, even if you're betting the Rockies money line, which sometimes you would normally when a bad team is bad, you kind of every now and then want to grab their run line because you're going to get the plus, 230 or whatever. But this Rockies team is so bad that, like your tweet said, you need plus 540 or 530 or something like
529.
that. 529. Yeah, that's absurd.
Oh, man, it's not even like they're losing a bunch of one-run games. All but 5 of their losses have come by multiple runs, so even getting the run and a half does you pretty much nothing whatsoever. So that's how bad it's been for them. But it's good when we do have William Boor aboard. He does great work over at Action Network, joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, and I think that we've got ourselves a very intriguing card for Tuesday. And how do you take a look at what we've seen out of the Rangers and Patrick Corbin? Because for the Rangers, they've got the top under rate in all baseball, north of 2/3 of their games going under, as the starting pitching has actually been quite good. But for Patrick Corbin, he's got a sub-4 ERA. I don't necessarily trust it. I have no faith in Will Warren whatsoever, and a total of 9. I'm not sure you take a look at this, but a Rangers team that's gone under all season long, I'm actually going to be willing to bank on an over, because I think that both of these pitchers just give it up in this one.
This is an over for me as well. So Corbin has been throwing better, than maybe we anticipated, or better than last year when he was just like an auto over. Now you do have to kind of look at it. But I think what you said at the end was you don't necessarily trust either of these pitchers. The way I'm looking at this game is either of them can throw well. Either of them is capable of performing maybe better than we expect. I really don't expect both of them to bring it on the same day. So I think one of them will give up 6 runs. I'm not sure which one, but I think that's probably our path to the over, is just both of these pitchers are so volatile that I think one of them will get us there.
Yep, I'm right there with you, and I could see it where both of these guys are able to get us there as well, and that would be absolutely tremendous. And then I think that this is going to be a very intriguing one as you've got the Twins and the Cleveland Guardians. The Twins had that super long win streak snapped on Sunday, but that said, Chris Paddock, he's been looking relatively solid against Gavin Williams and the Cleveland Guardians, and for the Twins, they're only about -110, -115 right now, and I want to get your thoughts here because with the Cleveland Guardians, the big thing that I've noted with them, this bullpen has just went straight down the toilet bowl, and I don't have any faith in Gavin Williams giving a great start here.
Yeah, especially this game's in Minnesota too. I know home field in baseball is not necessarily like, college basketball or the biggest kind of thing, but it's also not nothing. The win streak was snapped, but that doesn't mean all of a sudden they're cold. They're still playing really good baseball over the past 2 weeks. They're at home. Paddock's the better pitcher. The Twins, for whatever motivation factor you want to add in, they know that division games, are very important, especially in a very competitive division. When you are chasing the Tigers, all these wins matter. I think to me, everything screams Twins here, especially with a price that's really, really nice. If you're going to get this under, 130 or so, I really like the Twins. And also, I think their record, like these teams are within a game of each other, half game of each other. But if you look at like run differential, like the Twins are +35, the Guardians are -20. There's some expected results in there that these teams should be probably closer to 5 or 6 games apart rather than a half game.
Yep, I'm right there with you, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see what happens moving forward with regards to these two teams and that AL Central in general, where the Detroit Tigers have been reigning supreme, and they've got Drake Skubal going against another hot team in the St. Louis Cardinals with Eric Fetty Wap going for St. Louis, and right now with the Cardinals, right around about +145, +150 in that total of 7.5. How do you slice this one? Because Skubal has been so good, but you do have a St. Louis Cardinals team that obviously Eric Fetty is not quite Drake Skubal, but they've been another one of those teams that's gotten super hot here over the last few weeks.
This is either, for me, it's Tigers or under. If you want to back both the pitchers, that argument I totally get, then you're obviously going to take the under. But if you have to play a side, to me, it's the Tigers. Skubal's been so good. I just don't want to fade him, especially at a price that's normal. I'd maybe be willing to fade him if I was getting like +200 or something big on the other side. But if you're only getting 150, 140, something in there, I'd rather just be on Skubal.
Yeah, with Drake Skubal, he's just been so dominant this year, and for Eric Fetty, certainly he's been able to do a good job of being able to keep the ball in the yard, but who knows how long-lasting that's going to be. As joining me on the show, we do have our good friend William Boor over at Action Network joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, and then this is another game where I think the total is intriguing. You got the Angels and the Athletics, two of the worst 3 bullpens in the big leagues, Kyle Hendricks and Gunnar Hoglund going at it. Total is 10, and the A's are about -155, -160 favorites, and you are a man that spent a lot of time over at MLB Pipeline taking a look at these prospects. You know how much scoring there is typically out there in Sacramento and the PCL in general. I take a look at this total of 10, and I really like this one over as I don't trust in either of these pitchers, and even if these two pitchers give a good start, these two bullpens are just so bad that they might give it up too.
Yeah, this one's tough for me because I actually think Hoglund's thrown fairly well. I like him, and 10.5. 10 seems like a big number, so I would kind of want to go under on that. But that said, that's before you factor in the bullpens, Hendricks, and then probably most importantly, the AAA, whatever the heck ballpark they're playing out there in Sacramento, that I'm pretty sure that games start already at 4 just as soon as they throw the first pitch in that stadium. So to me, I can't play unders in that stadium. I think 10's a big number that kind of scares me. If I get a 9.5, I'll probably hop on it. But I'm never playing an under in that stadium probably because it's just absurd. It's kind of like in Coors Field where you just don't know. All of a sudden you're cruising and then some team gives up 7 in the 8th. So I think that stadium, these bullpens, you can't play in under, but it is just a high number.
Yep, absolutely. And I know that there's been a lot of buzz that the LA Dodgers aren't the same team this year, and they're coming off of a sweep at the hands of the LA Angels. That was very much less than tremendous, but now you've got Ryan Nelson against Yoshinobu Yamamoto, total of 9, and the Dodgers are right around about a -205, -218 favorite. Any sort of a lean here, because I do think that with the Dodgers, that series that we saw against the Angels was a little bit more of a one-off, and Yamamoto has clearly been the ace for the Dodgers this season.
I think there's 2 things at play here. Are the Dodgers the same team they were last year or that maybe everyone expected? No. but that doesn't mean they're not good. Like just because they're not, 42-3 right now doesn't mean they're not still a good team. The issue with this game is I think they're better. I'm going to have a hard time laying, a 230 against the team as good as the Diamondbacks and a team with that offense. I know we're recording this so no one will hear it. Like, I'm on the Diamondbacks Monday night with Brandon Pfaadt throwing. Yamamoto's been really good. Like you said, he's been their ace. I think just the Dodgers, you have to pick and choose their spots like you would with any other team. The issue with them is there's always just so much juice. You kind of got to see if you want to do the run line rather than the money line, because money line on the Dodgers is just really hard to find good value on this year.
Yep, it certainly is. And the Dodgers are one of those few teams that you can trust in a little bit more on the run line as well. And William, anything else catching your fancy for this Baseball Tuesday where we've got all 30 teams in action, but as we're recording, few games are currently off the board?
No, that's pretty much it. We mentioned the Rockies. Might be interesting to see how many runs the Phillies can put up to. Maybe that's something where you do a team total, or Bryce Harper versus Senzatella at Coors Field might be a nice little home run play that you could get into. But that one I'll watch for pure, hilarity. But otherwise, for actual betting value, I think we touched on all the good ones.
Yep, absolutely. And William, you do such an incredible job taking a look at this great game of baseball and so much more over at Action Network. So let the good people at home know what's on tap for you and how people are able to follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, of course. You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at WBoor, WBOOR. If you just want the picks, all my bets are tracked and logged in the Action Network app at William Boor _ all one word. And it'd also be awesome if everyone checked out everything that my coworkers are doing as well. ActionNetwork.com, Action app, obviously everything for baseball, NHL, playoffs. We got plays for every game. Same with the NBA playoffs. And we're covering every WNBA game as well. So if you want to bet it, we've got it.
Absolutely. And William, he's always got the goods when he joins this show. Every single time he joins me, lends amazing insight. So big thanks to William for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VC Family Podcast. And coming next, it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VC Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by William Boor, who does such great work over at Action Network. Taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Every single time he joins me, lends such great insights, and did so once again today. So big thanks to William for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81, and we're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games. Any interleague games, those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So how about if we do get things started with 901, 902 on the betting board? It is the Chicago Cubs on the road facing off against the Miami Marlins as Ryan Weathers gets a start for Miami, and it is Jameson Taillon on the bump for the Cubs. The Cubs do find themselves anywhere between -142 to -150 favorites, +130 to +136 at number on the fish. And 8.5 is the total. The over is between -110 to even money, and the under is between -110 to a -120. And I did set my total at an 8.3 here at the 8.5. I'm going to be one take shot on the under as for Ryan Weathers. I do believe that he actually elevates this Miami Marlins team a little bit. He had a relatively solid 2024 campaign, and I remember he was actually a very highly touted prospect with the San Diego Padres. Padres, but was really young, so they sort of gave up on him after a little bit of time. But that said, last season, about a .411 fielding independent, being able to get the strikeout numbers up to 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. And first start of the season, 5 innings, he allows 1 run. Granted, that was a solo home run, so a little bit of concern there, but all in all, pretty good start to the season. He is backed up by a bullpen that is one of the worst out there in all of baseball. You've got Anthony Bender, who's been able to give you some good innings, but Anthony Veziano has been able to give you north of a 4 ERA. Calvin Fauché is very hit or miss. Blake Bakar, guys like this just have not been tremendous. And then for James Taillon, it's been a little bit sketchy for him as well, as he's right now posting up a 4.53 ERA, but that's more of a 5.34 fielding independent with really giving up the deep ball. 13 home runs allowed in 49 and 2/3 innings. That leads the entirety of the National League, so a little bit less than savory there. But the good news for him is he goes up against a Miami Marlins team that is one of the worst at being able to hit the deep ball in all of baseball. You do have Kyle Sowers, who's been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers. He's playing north of a 375 on base. Matt Mervis has been able to give this team 7 home runs, but he's hitting below the Bedos line of 200. And for the rest of the team, there are a few guys that are able to move the line for the team, but not necessarily too much. Jesus Sanchez has just not been great this far this season. They're getting back Connor Norby after he was dealing with a little bit of an injury, so that's solid. And Augustin Ramirez has 5 home runs in his first 80 or so at bats. He's actually been pretty solid, but for the Cubs, this is the number 1 team in terms of runs per game in the National League. 4 different guys with a double-figure amount of homers. Daisy Swanson, Pete Crow Armstrong, Kyle Tucker, C.A. Suzuki. Tucker is able to give you about a 375 on base, and Crow Armstrong now hitting a 290. This guy has been absolutely tremendous. You do have a few guys towards the bottom of the fold that could be a little bit shaky, but overall, this is a team that does a good job of moving the line for the Cubs. The big issue that you do have with this team is their bullpen, as Porter Hodge has not been great in the closer spot. Caleb Theobar could be a little bit hit or miss, like Drew Pomeranz, Daniel Plencia, but these guys have brought it to the table because Ryan Presley has just not been great, to say the least. But I do believe that Taillon and Weathers give you a relatively solid start in what is still a relatively pitcher-friendly ballpark, despite the fact that we've seen a ton of overs over the last few seasons out there in Miami. Did set my total at 8.3. I like the under, and with the Cubs, set them at a -146 on the money line. Personally, if you go money line / run line, I would rather take a chalkier money line because I do think that this is a little bit of lower scoring game, so want to lay up to a -145 with the Cubs to go on that under as well. 903, 904 on the betting board. The Cincinnati Reds, and yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're onto the road. They're facing off against the Pittsburgh Pirates, as Bailey Falter hopes to not live up to his name for the Buccos, and Nick Martinez is on the bump for the Reds, and the Reds are anywhere between -118 to -125 favorites, +105 to +110. That number on Pittsburgh, 8.5 is the total, along with an 8. At the 8, I'm seeing an over and under, both at -110, and on the 8.5, under is -130, over is +110, and this is a total I set at an 8.1, so I'm thinking when it's all said and done, we're going to get a bunch of 8s, and I would be willing to go in on an 8 over, but I'm also willing to lay it with the Reds. I set them at a -142. I just have not been impressed by Bailey Falter pretty much ever. This goes back to his time when he was with the Philadelphia Phillies, as this is a man that overall for the season doesn't have the world's worst ERA at a 4.02, but 4.56 fielding independent. He has been giving up 3.5 walks per 9 innings. He only generates about 6.5 punch-outs per 9. It's done an okay job of keeping the ball in the yard, but so is Nick Martinez. 0.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Owns a 3.66 ERA, but a 3.18 fielding independent, with allowing just 2 walks per 9 innings. And here's the thing for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Dead stinking last in terms of runs per game. Barely give you north of 3 runs per contest. And Oneil Cruz has really been the lone guy that's been able to give you much of anything in this lineup, as he's been able to supply 8 home runs, but even his on base is starting to go below a 340. Isaiah Canara-Falefa has been able to about a 280. That's actually been rock solid, but he gives you absolutely no power whatsoever. And other than Brian Reynolds, you just don't have anyone other than Oneil Cruz who's able to give you north of 3 home runs. Reynolds has been able to supply 6 bombs, but he's currently got a 270 on base. And then you got so many guys at the bottom of the fold. Andy Rodriguez is on the injury list, but he was doing nothing. He, along with Tommy Pham, you're able to throw in there Alexander Canario, Henry Davis when he's been up at the big league level. Guys like this hitting below the Bedos line 200. It's just a turnstile of guys hitting below 200 at the bottom of that lineup. Meanwhile, for the Cincinnati Reds, you've got Ellie De La Cruz, who's been able to do a nice job of launching 8+ home runs for the team. Obviously, the strikeouts are a little bit of an issue, but for the Reds, also a top 4 team in terms of runs per game on the road in the National League. A little bit of that is an outlier because they had that 24-run game against the Baltimore Orioles a few weeks ago, but do have plenty of guys that are doing a nice job of just being able to find a way on base. As Will Benson, in his small sample size, 5 home runs in his first 9 games, hitting north of a 300. And then Austin the Say's kid, 6 bombs. He's hitting above a 300 for this team. Eovaldi Marte being on the injured list has hurt this team, but you've got Gavin Lux who's able to give you about a 380 on base, Santiago Espinal, TJ Friedel, hitting between about a 265 to a 280 as well. So I like what these guys bring to the table. And for the Pirates, it's been a little bit of a shaky bullpen for them. David Bednar has certainly been booping the Bednar. The likes of Colin Holderman, Joey Wentz, these guys have been absolutely awful. And then on the flip side for the Cincinnati Reds, you've been able to get some really good production out of the bullpen with the likes of a Taylor Rogers, Brent Suter, Tony Santillan. These guys being able to supply a sub-2 ERA. Graham Ashcraft has been a relatively good long guy for the team as well. Still have my question marks with Emilio Pagan, but all in all, this has been a bullpen that's been able to do a nice job of holding down the fort. So I did set the Reds on the money line at a minus 142. I'm going to be willing to lay that in at an 8 or less. I'm in on the over, so I tell it at 8.1. 905, 906 on the betting board. It is the Atlanta Braves, and they're going to be on the road. They're facing off against the Washington Nationals as Mitchell Parker is on the bump for the Nats, and it is going to be Spencer Strider who gets the start for the Braves. Right now, FanDuel has an opener of minus 178 on the Bravos, plus 150 on the Nationals. 8.5 is the total. Over is even money, and the under is minus 120, and right now, that is the only opener that I'm seeing. And for the Braves, I'd be willing to go up to a minus 107 on the run line. Right now, I'm not seeing a lot of run line prices. I set that money line more around a minus 163, so we'll see how things materialize there. And I would be willing to take a shot on that over, as I did set my total at 8.8, just because flat out, I don't know what you're going to be able to get out of Spencer Strider. Probably not going to be able to give you a whole bunch of innings, because last time he went out there, he landed himself right back on the injured list. So I think that the Atlanta Braves are going to be very much treating him with kid gloves, considering the fact that he has thrown 14 innings since the beginning of the 2024 campaign. And when it comes to this Braves bullpen, it's been okay. It's not necessarily great. It's not necessarily terrible. Desbel Hernandez has been able to do a pretty solid job of supplying the team with a sub-3 ERA. Dylan Lee has been a guy that's been impressive as well. They have had Horacio Iglesias be a little bit shaky, but he's still one of the better closers that you're going to find in all of baseball. And Pierce Johnson, a sub-3 ERA himself. So these guys have been able to do a pretty rock-solid job. Meanwhile, you take a look at the lineup for the Atlanta Braves, and it's been up, down, all around this season. You got Austin Riley, who's been stuck on 8 home runs for quite a while, but he's been able to about a 285. Michael Harris just is giving you nothing. He and Ozzy Albies both hitting a 225 or lower with a sub 285 on base and not a lot of power. But Matt Olson, he's back up to 9 bombs at 350 on base. Marcelo Zuna's give you a 420 on base. Home run power not where it was a season ago, but overall, he's been rock solid. And then you've had the likes of Nick Allen, Eli White starting to regress a little bit towards the bottom of the lineup, but they've been able to give you some good production as well. I like the fact that they've got Alex Verdugo back in the fold as well. And then for the Washington Nationals, this team is whiffing quite a bit more than they did a season ago, as you've got James Wood, who's been able to give you 12 home runs. He's supplying about a 375 on base. Dylan Cruz and Josh Bell, though, hitting below the Mendoza line of 200. That's a bit of an issue. Nathan Lowe, he's not hitting for a ton of average, but has been able to supply the team with 8 home runs. Keeper Ruiz has been able to give you about a 280, so he's been able to do a nice job along with Alex Call of finding a way on base. But for the Washington Nationals, currently a bottom 3 team in terms of bullpen ERA, these guys have been absolutely awful thus far this season. You've got Jackson Rutledge, who's been able to give you a sub 3 ERA along with Kyle Finnegan, and Andrew Chafin in his small sample size has not been bad, but really past that, Cole Henry as well has actually been relatively okay in the bullpen, but past that, pretty much everyone has north of 5 ERA. Brad Lord is back in the bullpen, Zach Brzezinski, Ore Lopez, these guys are just absolutely terrible. And for Mitchell Parker, I just don't have a lot of faith in him. He's not been able to get a lot of swings and misses. Feels like towards the beginning part of the season, he was getting quite lucky on balls in play, because this is not even some sort of a great command pitcher. He's getting 5.8 strikeouts and 4.3 walks per 9 innings, albeit he's only given up 1 home run in 50 innings thus far this season, but he's right now supplying a 4.32 ERA with getting no swings and misses whatsoever, has given up at least 4 runs in each out of his last 4 starts. I think that he continues to get pounded, so at an 8.5, I'm looking at the over, and with the Braves, would be willing to go up to a minus 107 on that run line. 907, 908 on the betting board. The Philadelphia Phillies hit the road. They're facing off against the Colorado Rockies. Antonio Senzatella is on the bump for the Rockies, and Jesus Luzardo is on the bump for the Phils. Phillies are anywhere between minus 260 to minus 285 favorites, and between plus 222 to a plus 235 is that number on Colorado. 10.5 is the total. The over is minus 115. The under is minus 105. Right now, a lot of books do not have a run line price up, but I will tell you, I'm willing to lay up to a 219 with this Philadelphia Phillies run line. I don't think we're going to find it that far. The initial opener that I saw at FanDuel was minus 184. This is just a terrible Colorado Rockies team with a guy named Antonio Senzatella that's getting banged around like a piñata. Like, my goodness, the fact that this guy is allowed to throw on a big league mound is just a disgrace to Major League Baseball. For Antonio Senzatella, right now posting up at 6.39 ERA, fielding advance right around about a 5.72, but he's giving up 15.3 hits per 9 innings. He's giving up 2 home runs per 9, 4.5 strikeouts, 2.7 walks per 9 innings. Very much less than savory, to say the least. And then you've got Jesus Luzardo, who's been very good for the Philadelphia Phillies this year. He's right now supplying a 2 ERA. He's getting just under 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, really not allowing the deep ball, 2 home runs allowed in 54 innings. Is backed up by a bullpen that no longer has Jose Alvarado because apparently he was taking weight loss stuff, and that landed him on the PED list. So that's good, clean family fun right there. But Matt Strom has been pretty solid in this bullpen. He's been able to supply you with a sub-3 ERA. Ryan Kerkering has not had the world's greatest of seasons, and then it's a little bit mix and match from there, as you've had Tanner Bakes be okay in this bullpen with about a 4.35 ERA, but I want to see a little bit more there. It's been rough for the likes of Jose Ruiz and company, and on the flip side, you've got a Colorado Rockies team that, well, they're not executing with really much of anything whatsoever. You've actually had Jimmy Harrigan not be the world's worst pitcher out there in the bullpen, so yay, verily there, and they're starting to find 1 or 2 guys that are relatively okay in this bullpen. Zach Ognos, Jake Bird, they've both been able to give you a sub-2 ERA, so that's a little bit encouraging, but this is right now one of the most pathetic offenses in all of baseball. Even at elevation at Coors Field, they're still not necessarily doing the world's greatest job of being able to generate runs. They're actually a below average team in terms of runs per game at home, despite being at Coors Field. They're hitting at 244 as a collective at Coors, a little bit over a home run per game. As Ryan McMahon hitting for north of 4 on base at home, 5 home runs thus far this season in his games at Coors, so that's relatively rock solid. Michael Taglia, Hunter Goodman, both hitting about a 290 at home, but that said, you still have the likes of Kyle Farmer, Mickey Moniak, Sean Borcher, Jacob Sellings, who just have not been able to give you too much when they've been at home. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, I'm just waiting on the overall power for guys not named Mr. Kyle Schwarber to be coming online, because Schwarber, he enters this series with 15 home runs north of a 380 on base, but pretty much everyone else not named Bryce Harper, 5 home runs or fewer. Harper, 7 bombs, about a 375 on base. And then you got Trey Turner down for what, who's hitting about a 290 for the team. Nick Castellanos doing a nice job moving the line. He's hitting for about a 270 in a small sample size. You've been able to have some relatively good at-bats out of Yohan Ross as well, give you about a 265 average, but for the rest of the team, just been a case where they've been getting on base. They haven't necessarily been able to hit the deep ball. I do think that they'll do so against Senzatella, and flat out I think that Jesus Luzardo is able to dominate in this ordeal. So I set the Phillies at a minus 337 on the money line. We'll go up to minus 220 on that run line. Set my total at 10.2, so you're at the 10.5. I like the under. 909, 910 on the betting board. It is the Arizona Diamondbacks in the road. They're facing off against the LA Dodgers. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is on the bump for the Dodgers, and Ryan Nelson is on the bump for Arizona. 9 is the total. Over is minus 115. The under is minus 105. And with the Dodgers, they're anywhere between minus 205 to a minus 225. Anywhere between plus 180 to plus 190 is that number on the Arizona Diamondbacks. And if you're looking to lay a run half for the LA Dodgers, you're going to be finding that at a minus 108. And I'd be willing to go up to a minus 113 on that Dodgers run line. Yoshinobu Yamamoto has been very rock solid thus far this season. Actually has a little bit of a higher ERA at home rather than on the road. But still, he's right now supplying the team with a 2.12 ERA, 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. Fielding independent is a little bit higher than that 2.12, as he's given up a few deep balls in the last few starts, but overall has been able to do a nice job holding down the fort. He's backed up by a bullpen that has been right around about league average this season. Ben Kasparis has been a nice long guy, being able to give you a sub-3.5 ERA. Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates, these guys have been good in middle relief as well, so do like what I'm seeing there. They're dealing with the injuries to quite a few guys, Blake Tryon, Broussard, Gridell, and company, but for the Arizona Diamondbacks, this has been a pretty dreadful bullpen, especially with AJ Puck, Justin Martinez currently being on the injury list, so they've been looking a lot to Shelby Miller, along Jalen Beeks, who have been able to supply a sub-3.5 ERA as long, guys, and they're probably going to need it, because for Ryan Nelson, this is just his second start of the season. He has made 10 total appearances. He's pitched in about 26 innings in those appearances, so he'll probably give you about 4, maybe 5 innings here. 5.13 ERA, but fielding independent of a 370. He's getting a career high 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, just over 1 home run per 9 innings, so he's been able to do an okay job. Again, I don't know what sort of length you're going to be able to get out of him, and for the Arizona Diamondbacks, this has been a lineup that has been very rock solid all season long since the beginning of the 2024 campaign. They are top 2 with regards to runs per game, and Eugenio Suarez not really hitting for a lot of average, but he's been able to supply the team with 14 home runs to go with a 309 on base. Corbin Carroll, 14 home runs, hitting north of 280. This is the Corbin Carroll that we all know and love, and then plenty of guys moving the line. Geraldo Perdomo, Pavin Smith, Josh Taylor, in between a 299 to a 302. You've been able to get some good production out of Ketel Marte, who was banged up to begin the season. 390 on base, 6 home runs in his small sample size. And on the flip side for the LA Dodgers, you know what you're going to be able to get out of Shohei Ohtani along Freddie Freeman. Freeman has done a nice job of giving you north of 4 on base in the small sample size that he's played in. He's been able to hit the deep ball as well, 9 home runs in his first 130 or so at bats with a 371 average. And then Shohei Ohtani, 16 home runs. He's been able to supply north of 400 on base himself. Mookie Betts has been a little bit up and down this season. 6 home runs in 44 games. You expect a little bit more there, but 350 on base. And then you've got Max Muncy, Michael Conforto struggling, but Andy Paz has really been able to pick it up for them. 9 bombs in his first 44 games of the season, north of a 330 on base. So I do think that the Dodgers do a nice job getting to Nelson and the Diamondbacks bullpen. I'm willing to lay up to a minus 113 on that run line, and did set my total at 8.6. So I think that Yamamoto holds down the Diamondbacks. So I like the under and the run line of Los Angeles. 9-11, 9-12 on the betting board. It is the Houston Astros. They're facing off against the Tampa Bay Rays. As Zach Little hopes to come up big for the Rays. As of right now, it reads to be determined on the bump for the Houston Astros. This is a game that is currently off the board. I was seeing in a few places, Ryan Gusto expected to get the start here, and if you do end up getting Ryan Gusto, I would be setting this price with regards to the Astros. I'd be making them a plus 108 underdog. With Rays, I'd be willing to lay up to a minus 107 there, and then somebody told to wear a 9 or less, I'll be looking at the over 9.5 or higher. The under for Ryan Gusto has had a little bit of a blow up recently, but overall has been solid for the Houston Astros in whatever capacity they've needed him in, as he's done a little bit of long relief, he's done a little bit of starting, as he's got 5 starts, 6 long relief appearances, about a 4.65 ERA, backed up by a 4.06 fielding independent, 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, so, and he's been able to do an okay job there. And then for a little, he does a nice job in terms of not giving up a lot of walks. His walks per 9 rate is right around about 1.7, but has given up the hard contact. 2.2 home runs per 9 innings. He's only getting about 5.5 strikeouts per 9, 4.31 ERA, but a 5.57 fielding independent, and he's backed up by a lineup that is in the bottom 8 in the big leagues in terms of run production. Now, you are playing out there in Steinbrenner Stadium rather than the Trop, so that's been able to help out this team a little bit. Jonathan Aranda has been thankful for it, as he's been able to give the team north of a 400 on base, but you do have a guy in Brandon Lau who's hitting less than a 220. That's been very much less than tremendous for them, and you've been able to get a lot of production as well out of a few other of the lesser guys, as Cameron Misner towards the beginning part of the season was doing a nice job moving line. That's dried up a little bit, as he's now hitting for more like a 245, but Chandler Simpson, he's been able to about a 300 for this unit. You've been able to have Junior Caminero be able to spy the team with 8 home runs as well, so I've been liking what I've been seeing there. And then on the flip side, you do have a Astros team that they're about league average with regards to run production. You've been able to get a lot of production recently out of Isaac Paredes, who's been able to give you 7 home runs. His on-base percentage is right around about a 370. Overall, this has been a team that has been down with regards to home run production, especially with Yordan Alvarez being on the injured list. Yedier Diaz just not giving anything in terms of on-base. 253 on-base. And Jose Altuve looks a bit washed. 4 home runs and hitting at 240 entering into the series, so that's less than tremendous. And Christian Walker, about a 280 on base. That's been less than amazing, but this is an Astros team that does rank in the top 6 in terms of bullpen ERA. You've got the Bryans, Brian King, Brian Abreu, who both been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Josh Hader has been very good this season, but how about Steven Okert being able to give you a sub-125 ERA? Caleb Bort, he's been able to do a nice job holding down the fort as well. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, this is always one of the better bullpens that you're going to find in all of baseball, as they have done a tremendous job of being able to mix and match in that bullpen. Has got a lot of guys that will be able to supply you with a sub-350 ERA. Pete Fairbanks, Garrett Clevenger, Manuel Rodriguez, Hunter Biggie, Eric Orze, they've all been very rock solid in this bullpen. But again, you do have a pair of guys that are a little bit suspect in terms of starting pitching matchup, and this is outdoors. So 9 or less in on the over 9.5 or higher. The under with the Rays, willing to lay up to a minus 107 with them, plus 109 or higher looking at the Astros. 913, 914 on the betting board. It is the Walker Texas Rangers, and they're facing off against the New York Yankees. Will Warren is on the bump for the Yanks, and Patrick Corbin is on the bump for the Rangers. 9 is the total, over and under, both at minus 110. Anywhere between minus 170 to minus 180 is that number on the Yankees, and between plus 150 to plus 160 is that number on Texas. And with Texas, I did set them at a plus 184 if you're looking to lay the run line of the New York Yankees. Pretty much anything of plus money I was willing to take a shot on right now with regards to a lot of those initial openers. I'm seeing like a plus 112, and that would be acceptable. I needed at least a plus 107 for Will Warren. Not necessarily a guy that I want to have a ton of faith in, but he's actually been able to give you north of 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, so I will give a little bit of credit where it is due to Will Warren. Again, guy that has a 4.61 ERA, has not really gotten a lot of wins throughout his career and has been giving up about 3.5 walks per 9 innings, but a 3.23 fielding independent, as he's not given up the deep ball and has given up 300 runs or fewer in 4 of his last 5 starts. Meanwhile, Patrick Corbin has actually a pretty rock solid ERA this far this season, but I think that regression is going to be coming for Mr. Corbin. 3.35 ERA, but 4.73 fielding independent. He's only getting 6.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's still allowing 1.4 home runs per 9. Like, you look at the per 9 rates, and they're pretty much the same as they they were a season ago. He's just been getting much luckier on balls in play, and I just don't know how long-lasting that is going to be. And you do have a Texas Rangers team that has been in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. Corey Seager has been just off and on the injury list all season long, so that's been very much less than tremendous. You've had Wyatt Langford be able to step up quite a bit with regards to this lineup, as he's been able to supply the team with 9 home runs. He's giving you about a 330 in terms of that on base. Adolis Garcia has 6 home runs, but he's not hitting for a lot of average at a 222. And then you've got Jake Berger, Marcus Semien, Jack Peterson, all really having their struggles to begin the season, hitting a 220 or lower. I believe all 3 guys have a sub 275 on base as well. Getting back Evan Carter is big, but he's been a little bit slow coming out of the gate since coming off of the injured list. And for the Rangers, about a league average bullpen. It's not great, it's not terrible. You've had a few guys do a nice job coming through for you. Chris Martin, Robert Garcia, both of these guys have been able to supply you with a sub 2 ERA. You've been able to get some relatively good production as well out of the likes of a Hobie Milner, who's been able to give you a sub 3 ERA, but I just don't have a lot of faith in Charmin Armstrong, Luke Jackson. These guys give you north of a 4.75 ERA. And for the New York Yankees, obviously, Devin Williams has been an abject disaster for the team, but that said, the bullpen has not been too bad. Ian Hamilton, I've always liked him, and he just has never really been able to find it, but that said, Luke Weaver, I believe, has given up a 1 earned run thus far this season, so that's rock solid. They're getting back Jonathan Loaisiga, guy that I've always liked in the bullpen, Fernando Cruz, Yuri De Los Santos, have been able to give you sub 275 ERA in them with the New York Yankees. You've got a guy by the name of Aaron Judge who's right now giving you a 490 on base with 15 home runs. That's been amazing. But how about Trent Grisham? A home run every 10 at-bats entering into the series with a 367 on base. Good, clean family fun there. Austin Wells, Ben Rice, been able to combine for 17 home runs. Now, Wells is not hitting for a lot of average, but Rice has been able to move the line, give you about a 350 on base. Paul Goldschmidt's power numbers are down, but he's up to about a 390 on base as well. So I do think that the Yankees do a nice job of getting to Corbin and company at the 9. I'm willing to take a shot on the over, set my total at 9.3, and I do like the Yankees on the run line. 9:15, 9:16 on the betting board. The Cleveland Guardians hit the road. They're facing off against the Minnesota Twins as Chris Paddock is on the bump for the Twins, and Gavin Williams goes for Cleveland. 7 is the total, over and under, both at minus 110, and with the Twins, they're anywhere between minus 108 to a minus 115, and between plus 101 to minus 105 is that number on Cleveland. And with Cleveland, I did set them at a plus 132. I'm going to be willing to lay it with Minnesota. For Chris Paddock, I recognize that the start of the season was very much less than savory for him. That said, I do think that this man is going to be able to give you a relatively good start here. As for Paddock, he's done a relatively solid job throughout the season of just being able to keep things out in front of him and being able to work on the home run ball, as he has only given up 1 home run over the last 3 starts, and he's won a combined 14 and a third innings in his last 2 starts, giving up just 1 run. So it does appear as though things are starting to round back into form with him. He's got a 4.78 fielding dependent compared to a 4.05 ERA, but it's just looked much better in his last few starts. And then for Gavin Williams, this is a man that was quite unlucky last season, but as far as this season, he just has not been able to do a great job in terms of the command. 5 walks per 9 innings. He is getting about 11 strikeouts per 9, so 454 fielding dependent, but also giving up a home run and a half per 9 innings, so he's been very suspect with that regard. You got a Twins team that was riding that incredible win streak that came to a snap on Sunday, but still, this has been a Twins team that has been able to utilize Byron Buxton to the fullest of his capacity. As for Mr. Buxton, he's now been able to give the team 10 plus home runs, and he's been able to move the line a little bit more, hitting about a 260. Additionally, Trevor Larnach is starting to be able to give you a little bit of something with 7 home runs. Now, note that Byron Buxton, he's on that 7-day injured list. He's probably going to be out once again for this game. I would anticipate him trying to be back for the weekend series, but that said, even without Byron Buxton, they've still been able to have quite a few guys move the line. The power numbers have been down, but you know what? Ryan Jeffers along with Harrison Bader, both hitting above a 265. You've been able to get some good production as well towards the bottom of the lineup out of someone like a Cody Clemens, who's been hitting about a 380 on base. Still do have some suspect guys like Edouard Julien is hitting below the nose 200. Carlos Correa just has not been himself as well, but for the Minnesota Twins, the bullpen is starting to round into form as well. Griffin Jackson has been getting jacked up all season long, but you've had quite a few guys like a Yohan Duran, along Cole Sands, Justin Topa, all be able to supply a sub 230 ERA, and Duran has looked like one of the best closers in all baseball this season, and Danny Klum has yet to give up an earned run this far this season. Flip side, you have a Cleveland Guardians team that was number 1 in terms of bullpen ERA last season. Now they're in the bottom half of the big leagues with Emmanuel Clase starting to poop the bed. They had to get rid of a few guys during the offseason, and Eric Zabrowski is right now on the injured list, so that's been less than tremendous. You've had Kate Smith, Hunter Gaddis both be able to supply a sub 265 ERA, but after a good year last year, Tim Herron has been able to give you about a 450 ERA. Joey Cantillo, well, he can't necessarily give you a lot of consistency, so that's been a bit of an issue. And for the Cleveland Guardians, this has been a lineup that has been very top-heavy this far this season, as you have to like what Stephen Kwan does at the leadoff spot, hitting above a 300, and Kyle Manzardo is able to give you 10 home runs, but Manzardo also hitting for about a 220, and Carlos Santana is also hitting for about a 220. Jose Ramirez has been rock solid. He's riding a nice hit streak. He's been able to give you 9 home runs, 360 on base, so he's starting to find it a little bit more. And Bo Naylor, 6 home runs, but Naylor, along with Brian Rocchio, John Kenzie Noel, Lane Thomas, you've got a lot of guys hitting below the Mendoza line of 200 for this Guardians team, so do you think that the Twins go out there and dominate this one? I'm going to be willing to lay it here with the Twins. I did set them at a minus 132, and I do like this one over. Set my total at 7.9. 917, 918 on the betting board. It is the Chicago White Sox playing host to the Seattle Mariners, as Bryce Wilson is on the bump for the White Sox, and it is old to be determined who's going to be on the bump for the Mariners. This is a game that is presently off the board. Now, through the grapevine, I was seeing on CBS Sports that the expected starter was going to be one Jonathan Diaz, and if you do get Mr. Jonathan Diaz, I'd be willing to lay up to a minus 193 on this Mariners money line. Plus 185 or higher. Looking at the White Sox, and 9 or less, I'm looking at the over 9.5 or higher, the under. This is just a big giant fade of Bryce Wilson, who has not been good thus far this season. Like, man, it's hard to believe that this guy was starting in, I believe, a World Series game for the Atlanta Braves in 2020. That shows you what 2020 was, but that's for Mr. Bryce Wilson. Giving up a lot of contact right now. 6 ERA, 645 fielding independent. He's giving up 3.8 walks per 9 innings. He's giving up 2.2 home runs per 9 innings, 12.3 hits per 9 innings, so not great. Yeah, that's not what you want to see. And then for Jonathan Diaz, this guy has been up, down, all around throughout his career, as he started out his career with the Los Angeles Angels. He still is apparently like 28 years old, which I can't believe, but that said, he made an appearance earlier this year for the Mariners, and in his Mariners tenure, I believe that he's thrown a grand total of 11 innings, and he has posted up a 4.09 ERA. You really can't tell a whole lot off of that. If you take a look at what he's done out there at the AAA level, though, for Tacoma, he's got a 5.87 ERA, but keep in mind, that is in the PCL. That is a juice ball league. He's been getting only about 8 strikeouts per 9 innings. Never has been necessarily a strikeout artist. You've seen that with his MLB career, having about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's toning down on the walks a little bit more. He's been giving up fewer than 3 walks per 9 innings, and he does get to go up against a Chicago White Sox team that's currently in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of runs per game, and you've got Andrew Vaughn along with Luis Robert, who just have not been able to find it. Both of these guys, 5 home runs, both of these guys hitting below the middle line of 200, with Andrew Benintendi being on the injured list. That has been very much hurting this team as well. He was hitting 5 home runs, and he was one of the most consistent hitters for the team. Miguel Vargas now up to 6 home runs, so you do like to see that. He's been able to give you about a 325 or so with regards to that on base, and Lennon Sosa, he's been able to 265 as well, but still so many dead bats in this lineup. Michael A. Taylor, Joshua Palacios, Nick Batone, got a bunch of guys hitting below the middle line of 200. Josh Ross, stop been able to find it as well, and this is a White Sox team that's in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of their bullpen ERA as well. Mike Facile, as a long guy, has actually been really good. He's posting up a sub-2 ERA, but you got the likes of Cam Bouger, Frazier Allard, Brandon Eisert, all these guys posting up north of 4.4 ERA. Tyler Gilbert is now at the injured list as well. And for the Seattle Mariners, it's a bullpen that is either here or there. You've got Andres Munoz, who's been one of the best closers out there in all of baseball. He's been very dominant this far this season. And you got a few guys who are able to set you up, as Casey Lugumina, Gabe Spire. These two guys have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA, but I mean, it's been very suspect what you've been able to get out of Edward Bizarro, is posting up north of 4 ERA. Trent Thornton has been a little bit injured, and when he's been out there, he's been posting up north of a 5 ERA. They do get back Matt Brash. That should be able to help them out quite a bit as well. But for the Seattle Mariners, this is a lineup that is in the top 3 in the American League in terms of runs per game away from home, with big dumper Cal Raleigh spying 15 home runs, north of a 360 on base. You've had Ore Polanco be able to give you 10 bombs, hitting for north of a 300 as well. Dylan Moore's giving you more, 7 home runs, hitting for about a 285. J.P. Crawford is moving the line, giving you about a 375 on base. Mitch Garver in a small sample size, he's moving the line as well. So really like what I'm seeing on the Seattle Mariners lineup, and Julio Rodriguez seems to be rounding into form a little bit more as well. So 9 or less and on the over 9.5 or higher. The under with the Mariners want to go up to a minus 123 on that run line, minus 193 on that money line, and with the White Sox plus 185 or higher, we'll be looking at them. 919, 920 on the betting board. The LA Angels, they hit the road. They're facing off against the Athletics, as Gunnar Hoglund is on the bump for the A's, and the Professor Kyle Hendricks goes for Los Angeles. Los Angeles, an underdog of between plus 136, plus 140. Meanwhile, minus 148 to minus 162, that number on the A's, and that is the total. The over and the under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115, and for the A's, I did set them at a minus 158 on the money line. Right Right now, we don't have a lot of run line prices out, but I was willing to go up to a plus 120 or higher. I'd be looking at that run line right now. That initial number is closer to a plus 130, so I will be looking there because for Kyle Hendricks, this guy has been just getting absolute barbecue this far this season. 5.18 ERA, 1.5 homers and 3.5 walks allowed per 9 innings. He's always supposed to be a good command pitcher, and he has not been able to give you too much command. He's given up 4 home runs in 24 innings on the road with a 6.38 road ERA thus far this season as well. And for Gunnar Hoglund, 3.78 ERA, but the advanced numbers are a little bit less than savory. In 3 starts, he has a 5.13 fielding dependent. He's allowed 4 home runs in 16 2/3 innings, and then you've got a pair of bullpens that have been absolutely terrible. For the LA Angels, 7.06 bullpen ERA. It's not even worth mentioning any of those guys in terms of being trustworthy because there's nobody that's trustworthy in that Angels bullpen. I think Ryan Zephyriah might have a sub-5 ERA. Like, that's it. Every single one of these guys coming out of that bullpen is an absolute gas can, and they don't deserve any other mention. Meanwhile, for the Athletics, Mason Miller has been a little bit more suspect, really good stuff, but he's had a little bit of a tough time locating, but you still have quite a few guys that will be able to give you some good innings, like a Justin Sterner has been able to do a nice job going out there supplying a sub-2 ERA. Grant Holman, in his sample size, has been pretty rock solid as well. Now, you've got the likes of a TJ McFarland, Tyler Ferguson, Mitch Spence, these guys giving you north of a 4.70 ERA, but this is a Athletics team that has plenty of power. Brent Rooker, Tyler Soderstrom, 10 plus home runs apiece, and for Soderstrom, 330 on base. He's been only able to give you about 1 home run over the last 3.5 weeks, so that's been a little bit of an issue, but still doing a nice job being able to find a way on base. Miguel Andujar has been banged up, but you know what? You still have Jacob Wilson, who's been able to give you north of a 330 batting average. They're looking at Nick Kurtz to be able to give you a bit of something, and he's been a little bit shaky, but Shea Langoliers, Shea bangs for 8 home runs. He's hitting now for about a 320 on base, much better with regards to on-base percentage than he was a season ago. And for the LA Angels, this is actually one of the best home run hitting teams in all baseball, a top 5 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis, with Taylor Ward leading the way with 12 bombs. But here's the issue you've got with a lot of these guys. Mike Trout is currently on the injured list. Taylor Ward, Kyron Paris, throw in there Joe Adell. All these guys have 5 plus home runs. All these guys also hitting below at 200. In the case of Paris, he's up to 6 bombs with a 264 on base. You've had Zach Neto be able to give you 7 home runs. He's providing about a 335 on base. And for Logan O'Hoppe, hitting a 250 with 10 home runs, that's rock solid. But you still have some very suspect guys in that lineup. Travis Arnaud has been having a fall off. Luis Renifo down to about a 260 in terms of on base as well. So do think that the A's go out there and dominate this one. I did sub my run line players to wear a plus 120 or higher. Won't take a shot on the A's. And I like the over, sub my total 10.7. 921, 922 on the betting board. The Metropolitans are on the road facing off against the Boston Red Sox. As for the Red Sox, it is old Mr. Walker Buehler getting the start for them, and Clay Holmes goes for the Mets. Opener is the Mets minus 120, even money on the Red Sox, and 9 is the total. Over is at minus 115. The under is minus 105. I'm going to be willing to lay with the New York Mets in this one. I did set them at a minus 128 on the money line. I've been incredibly impressed by what I've seen out of Clay Holmes thus far this season. For Mr. Holmes, he's been able to supply this team with a sub-325 ERA. The fielding dependent is right around about a 309 with giving up 0.6 home runs per 9 innings. Walks are a little bit of an issue. He's given up north of 3 walks per 9 innings, but all in all, he has been able to do a nice job going out there, holding down the fort, and has been able to give you a little bit more length recently as well. And then for Walker Buehler, 4.26 ERA this season, but he comes in his best form. 3 runs or fewer allowed in each out of his last 4 starts. Both of these teams have relatively good bullpens as well, especially the Mets. The Mets entered into the series number 5 in the big leagues in terms of their bullpen ERAs. Right now, they've got a 3.05 bullpen ERA. That's 5th in all baseball, with the long guys really doing a nice job. Max Chronic has been a little bit up and down, but have a pair of guys in Jose Buto, coupled with as well Oscar Brazoban, who have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. You've been able to have some really good production as well out of Reed Garrett, who in a shorter role, he's been giving you about a 1 ERA, so been very impressed there. When it comes to the rest of the bullpen, they've all been pretty rock solid and doing their part. Edwin Diaz seems to be rounding into form, and for the Mets, you've got a pair of guys who have been able to supply 9 home runs in Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso, who also do a nice job of just being able to find a way on base. With Lindor, he's been able to hit north of a 280, and then Pete Alonso north of a 400 on base. Brandon Nimmo, Juan Soto, 8 home runs apiece, and for Soto, he hasn't necessarily been able to hit the deep ball this year. He's been struggling a little bit, but yet even in his struggles, he gives you a 380 on base, which that's something that you'd love to see. Luan Acuna doesn't give you a lot of power, but he does a nice job moving the line himself. And then for the Boston Red Sox, you do have a pair of guys that have been able to supply 11 plus home runs this season in Alex Bregman along with Wilder Abreu. For Bregman, he's really having a nice start to the season, probably the best start to his career in terms of a single season. 385 on base, and then for Abreu, he's been able to give you more like a 355 on base. Trevor Story has seen a dip in production, aiming for just a 230 and 6 home runs. You expect a little bit more there. And Jarren Duran had a home run over the weekend. Now hitting a 265 265. It's still not amazing, but he's starting to get back online. Rafael Devers has been able to give you 400 on base, and ever since his struggles to begin the season, he's been able to round into a little bit more form as well. But that said, I do think that for the Red Sox, it is a case where the bullpen is just a little bit less trustworthy than that of the Boston Red Sox. You just never know when Aroldis Chapman is going to blow a game on you, so that's a bit of an issue for this team. You've been able to get some good production out of Brenner Bernardino along Justin Wilson. Both of these guys, a sub-255 ERA. Liam Hendricks, ever since coming back in a Herculean way, he's been okay in this bullpen, about a 3.40 ERA, but Garrett Woodlock has not necessarily been good as a long guy, and Justin Slayton posting up north of a 4.70 ERA as well. So I'm going to be willing to lay up to a minus 128 on this Mets money line, and do you think that this is going to be a lower scoring game? So I might tell it at 8.4, so I like the under. 923 and 924 on the betting board. The Slam Diego Padres hit the road, and they're facing up against the Toronto Blue Jays. As we know that Dylan Cease is going to be on the bum for the Padres. It's looking like Chris Bassett should be going for the Blue Jays, but as of right now, it's still off the board, TBD. But I did set my initial handicap. If you do get Bassett versus the Padres and Dylan Cease, set the Padres at a minus 134, so willing to lay up to a minus 133 on that money line, plus 135 or higher. Looking at the Jays, and then set my total to wear an 8 or less. I'm in on the over 8.5 or higher. The under for Chris Bassett. He's gotten off to a relatively nice start to the season. Last few starts have been a little bit less than savory after his first 5-6 starts. He was really going out there and he was just flat out dominating, but I do like the way that he's been able to hone it in with regards to command after last few seasons with the Blue Jays. It has been a little bit less than tremendous. He's giving up only 1.8 walks per 9 innings, 9.5 strikeouts per 9, 1.1 home runs per 9 innings, 3.16 is his ERA, and that fielding dependent is right there as well. Had given up 3+ runs in each of his previous 4 starts before he stopped the bleeding against the Rays in his previous start. And for Dylan Cease, I think that there's all sorts of positivity coming from him as well. A 4.60 ERA, but fielding dependent is a 3.22. He's getting 11 strikeouts per 9 innings, a 3.5 walks per 9, still a little bit of a concern, but he's been able to rein it in quite a bit more. 2 earned runs or fewer allowed in each out of his last 5 starts after a bad start to the season, and he's backed up by a top 8 team with regards to their bullpen ERA. You've been able to get a lot of production out of these guys like a Yuki Matsui, who's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Jeremiah Estrada has been rock solid. Jason Adam dating back to the beginning of the 2024 campaign as a sub-2 ERA. Robert Suarez is one of the better closers that you're going to find in all baseball. And then on the flip side, for the Toronto Blue Jays, it's starting to be a little bit suspect with the bullpen as Jeff Hoffman has really started to poop the bed. He's giving you north of 5 ERA. Yimi Garcia's had a few rough outings as well. You've actually had Mason Fluharty give you a sub-250 ERA. He's been rock solid for this bullpen, and Chad Green, he's been able to give you a few good innings as well, right around about a 3.50 ERA. But the biggest concern that you currently have with the Blue Jays, you're getting absolutely no power whatsoever out of this lineup. Dalton Varsho, who has played in, I believe, 14 games, has 6 home runs, and right now he's leading the team in homers. That's not great, to say the least. Bo Bichette is actually up to 4 home runs. He's starting to see a little bit of power surge. Heath Liger Jr., Alejandro Kirk, in between about 285 to 295, and with Guerrero north of a 390 on base, even without the power numbers, he's still been able to find a way to move the line. Anthony Santander, George Springer, both have 5 home runs, and Springer's give you 375 on base. Santander hitting below the Mendoza sign 200, that's a little bit less than tremendous, and Andres Jimenez has not given you too much, and he's currently dealing with a little bit of injury. Flip side, you've got yourself a San Diego Padres team that is now getting back Jackson Merrill, who in his very small sample size has been incredible for the San Diego Padres this season, hitting for about a 400 on base, 4 home runs in his first 20 games of the campaign. And Fernando Tatis Jr., he's really been able to launch a deep ball, 12 home runs this season, which the Padres strangely have really liked the deep ball. Other than Mr. Tatis Jr. and Gavin Sheets, who's got 6 home runs, nobody north of 4. You've had Manny Machado sitting very well with a 320 in terms of that batting average, but only 3 home runs out of him. You've been able to have Elias Diaz be able to give you a few home runs, but I mean, he's been having a small sample size as well. Jake Cronenworth coming off the injured list should be able to help this team out a little bit as well. So interesting circumstance here. I'm going to lay up to a minus 133 with the Padres, plus 135 or higher. Looking at the Blue Jays, and then 8 or less, I like the over 8.5 or higher. The under 925, 926 on the betting board. It is the Brewers, and they play us to the Baltimore Orioles. Right now, Logan Henderson is the starter for the Brewers, and it's all to be determined on the bum for Baltimore. This game is off the board. It's looking like it's going to be Chase McDermott who gets the start, and if you get McDermott versus Henderson, we'll be willing to lay up to a minus 148 with the Brewers, plus 149 or higher. Looking at the Orioles, and then somebody told to wear an 8.5 or less. I'm in on the over, a 9 or higher. I'm going to be in on the under for McDermott. He saw us start in that double dip about a week or so ago, and this is someone that's probably not going to be able to give you a whole bunch of length. I think they went 3 or 4 innings in that first start, and he did not look good in that first start as he gave up 4 runs. And if you look at what he was able to do at AAA Norfolk earlier in the season, not a guy that you necessarily want to have a whole heck of a lot of faith in, as overall in his minor league starts thus far this season, 5.5 walks per 9 innings. So you take a look at what he was able to do last year at Norfolk, 3.78 ERA. He was getting a bunch of strikeouts, but again, 5.5 walks per 9 innings. So he's a high strikeout guy, but he's a high volatility guy as well. And then for Henderson, he's a pretty steady Eddie guy. I actually like what I've seen out of him, as at the AAA level, he was able to just flat out go out there and get wins, 2.45 ERA in his first 2 starts at the big league level. He's been able to really give you some good strikeouts, as he was able to generate 16 strikeouts in his first 2 career starts. So you absolutely love to see that. When he was over at AAA Nashville earlier in the season, he was getting about 12 punch-outs per 9 innings while giving up less than a home run per 9, and the Brewers need it, because the Brewers bullpen, who was number 1 in the National League in terms of ERA 8 seasons ago, that has very much faltered this season. Elvis Piero, Yo Payamps have been both banged up and have been very ineffective. Jared Koenig has seen a little bit of regression after Uribe, who they really didn't have last season, has actually become their best bullpen piece. So that's been interesting on that front end. For the Baltimore Orioles, this is a team that has a bottom 5 bullpen in terms of ERA this season. Felix Bautista, so relatively rock solid as closer, but hard to utilize your closer when you don't get a lot of leads. So that's not great, as you've got Brian Baker, who's also been able to give you a sub 250 ERA, but then you've got Gregory Soto, Sir Anthony Dominguez, Colin Selby, Matt Bowman, a whole bunch of guys giving north of a 4 ERA. It's been a tough year for Yunier Cano as well for the Baltimore Orioles, averaging about 3.7 runs per game on the road. That's a bottom 5 mark in all of baseball. You do have Cedric Mullins hitting for 9 home runs, but after he moved the line towards the beginning part of the season, hitting just a 227 right now. Gunnar Henderson, he's starting to rise up. He's really been hot over the last few months. 7 home runs, hitting for about a 260. Ryan O'Hearn, north of a 380 on base. He's been able to supply this team with 7 home runs as well. You've got Ramon Laureano, who's been relatively solid and moving the line. Ramon Urias, he's been able to about a 270 as well. Jackson Holiday, he's done a nice job, give you about a 340 on base as well. And then on the flip side, you do have yourself a Brewers team that has quite a few guys. They're doing a nice job of being able to get on base. I absolutely love what I've been seeing recently out of Sal Frelick along with Bryce Terang. Both of these guys have been able to give you north of a 270 average, and with Terang, he's one of the better base stealers that you're going to find in all of baseball. Jackson Chourio, Christian Yelich, both still stuck on 7 home runs, and for Yelich, just a 295 on base. That has not been amazing. Meanwhile, for Chourio, he's only hitting for about a 260 on base as well, but that said, in terms of what you've gotten out of Rhys Hoskins, a 390 on base, he's been able to supply you with 5 home runs, and then you've got quite a few guys like Isaac Collins, Caleb Durbin, these guys that are the middle infielders aside from Collins, who Collins, I believe, is just a little bit of a utility guy. They just have not been able to give you too much of anything, but still, William Contreras back up to about a 350 in terms of on base. So if you do get Henderson against McDermott, we'll be willing to lay up to a minus 147 on that Brewers money line, plus 149 or higher, looking at the Orioles, and then in after less, like the over 9 or higher, the under 927, 928 on the betting board. The Detroit Tigers hit the road. They're facing off against the St. Louis Cardinals, as Eric Fetty Wap is on the bump for the Cardinals, and we've got Tariq Skubal on the bump for Detroit. 7.5 is the total, over and under both at minus 110, between minus 163 to minus 175, that number on Detroit, and between plus 145 to a plus 152 is that number on St. Louis, and I did set the Tigers out at minus 145. Anything above a plus 145, going to be one take shot on the Cardinals on the money line for Eric Fetty. He just overall, since coming back from the KBO, has an ERA more than a point lower at home rather than away from home for Fetty. Not necessarily going to be a strikeout artist or anything like that, but has been able to do a solid job of just being effective in general. Thus far this season, he's posting up a 344 ERA, that fielding dependent, more around about a 410. He's only getting 5.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but has kept the ball in the yard. 3 home runs allowed in 52 in the third innings, coming off of being able to give you 14 and 2/3 innings scoreless in his last 2 starts. Both of those starts were on the road, by the way, so very impressive there. And for Tariq Skubal, after a rough first 2 or so starts of the season, this guy has been able to lock the heck in. As for Tariq Skubal, he did have that 5-run performance in which he allowed quite a bit against the Boston Red Sox, but prior to that, had allowed to combine 4 runs in his previous 4 starts. He's been able to give you 8+ punch-outs in each out of his last 4 starts, and for Skubal, he's only giving up 1 walk per 9 innings, 11.8 strikeouts per 9 innings as well, all while giving up less than a home run per 9 innings, so have to absolutely love what you've seen there. And for this Detroit Tigers bullpen, since the All-Star break of the 2024 season, the team is number 1 in terms of their bullpen ERAs. Brant Herter has been able to do a nice job as a long guy, being able to give you multiple innings, but just have so many mix and match pieces in the bullpen. Will Vest has a little bit north of a 3 ERA, so that's been a little bit up and down. And Tyler Holden's more around about a 360 in terms of that ERA, but Will Vest, actually, I lied, he's giving you a 166 ERA. Holden's pretty much the only guy in this bullpen who's giving you north of a 3 ERA, as you've had really good production out of the likes of Brandon Hennefy, Tommy Canley, Chase Lee. All these guys have been able to come up clutch, and you've got a Detroit Tigers team who's been able to generate north of 5 runs per game in terms of their offense. You've had Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson combined for 23 home runs, and Torkelson has given you about a 350 on base. Riley Green, he's hitting for about a 275. Zach McKinstry has been able to give you you a 367 on base. Kerry Carpenter has been able to supply 9 home runs. He's hitting at 290. You've had Gleyber Torres, Javi Baez doing a nice job moving the line as well. And then on the flip side, you do have a bunch in the St. Louis Cardinals who've been able to play some nice station-to-station baseball. You don't necessarily have a lot of guys that are just pounding the tar out of the ball or anything like that, but I said you've had Lars Nootbaar be able to hit 7 home runs. He's giving you about a 360 on base. Nolan Arenado has been able to do a solid job being able to give you about a 250 average. Brendan Donovan is hitting at 330, and Alec Burleson, he's been able to do a nice job giving you about a 275 average. Jordan Walker has been a relatively rough to begin the season, but you do have Ron Herrera back who's giving you 5 home runs in his first 49 at-bats, and anything above a 400, I think that's not going to be a mainstay, but for the Cardinals, after their bullpen was relatively shaky to begin the season, they've really been able to lock in as Ryan Helsley is back down to a sub-3 ERA. Absolutely love his stuff as a closer. Kyle Leahy posting up just a 1 ERA. Phil Matone has been pretty solid as a long guy as well. Jojo Romero has been a little bit shaky, but he's starting to round into form as well. So plus 145 or higher looking at the Cardinals on the money line. And like this total under, so my total is 7.1, and we wrap things up with 929, 930 on the betting board. The Giants are going to be playing us to the Kansas City Royals. Michael Lorenzen is on the bump for the Royals, and Hayden Birdsong goes for San Francisco. 8 is the total. The under is minus 115, the over is minus 105, and for San Francisco, they're between minus 127 to minus 135 favorites. They're between plus 114 to plus 118 is that number on Kansas City. And for the Giants, I did set them at a minus 136 on the money line, so I'm going to be willing to lay it here for Hayden Birdsong. He's been a really good long guy, and he got a few starts last season. I believe he's had a start or two thus far this season, as well as this is a really nice mix and match for a San Francisco Giants team in general. For Birdsong, 231 ERA. Now, he does have a 472 fielding independence. He's been giving up 4 walks and 1.5 home runs per 9 innings, so it's been a little bit charmed to get out of the spots that he has been, but as a long guy, he's won 3+ innings in 2 out of his last 5 total appearances. This is going to be his first start of the season, but again, was a starter last year, so he should be able to give you 4+ good innings and then pass it off to a bullpen of the San Francisco Giants that has been number 1 in the big leagues in terms of their ERA. You've got so many guys that have been rock solid as Camilo Duvall. Looks like the Camilo Duvall that we all know and love after last year. It was just shaky for him, to say the least. As you've also got Tyler Rogers, Eric Miller, Randy Rodriguez, who have all been able to supply an ERA that is below 2. You've had Spencer Bivens as a bit of a long guy, be relatively solid as well. And then at the plate for the San Francisco Giants, you've got Wilmer Flores giving you 10 home runs, hitting about a 260. On that front, you've got Jungle Lee, who's been able to move the line, hitting about a 275. He's starting to give you some power. Matt Chapman, Eloy Ramos, 8 home runs apiece, both give you north of a 340 on base. Still has been a rough year for Willy Adames, but I think he's going to find it sooner rather than later. And then for the Royals, it's been a very rough and shaky lineup for the team, to say the least. As for the Royals, you've had Vinny Pasquantino do a nice job being able to give you 6 or 7 home runs thus far this season, but he's been hitting below a 225. You've got Bobby Witt Jr. still hitting north of a 300, and he's been able to give you about a 370 in terms of that on base as well, but the power numbers just have not been there. Salvador Perez, when he's been out there on the field, just has given you nothing, hitting a 225 with 2 home runs. You just expect more out of him. Jonathan India had 1 more home run than myself this far this season. Now they are getting Mark Canha back in the fold. That should be able to help them out just a skosh, but what has actually been impressive for the Royals has actually been the bullpen, as they've been a top 8 team with regards to bullpen ERA. Lucas Ursedge, Carlos Aceves, both of these guys have been able to be really good in the 8th and 9th inning, both supplying sub-3 ERA. Daniel Lynch has been able to give you a sub-2 ERA along Stephen Cruz, so these guys have been able to do a nice job stepping up for the team, but I just don't have any faith whatsoever here in Michael Lorenzen. Over the last few years, he's been one of the more lucky pitchers in all of baseball. For Lorenzen, he doesn't necessarily have great wipeout stuff. He's not necessarily doing an amazing job with his command. It's down to about 2.5 walks per 9 innings, 7.7 strikeouts per 9, but 376 ERA, 451 fielding independent, with giving up 1.5 home runs per 9 innings, has given up 1 run or fewer in 3 of his last 5 starts. Think that dries up sooner rather than later, so set my total at 80.2. I like the over, and I do like the Giants up to a minus 135 on that money line, and with that, that'll wrap things up for the Tuesday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of 2 ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at GUnit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. And big thanks once again to William Boor of Action Network for joining me in the previous segment. I'm coming at you guys every single day on this podcast throughout the regular season, so I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.